Bonjour mon petit chifle, Amber here. It's the first week of October. We're really in the swing of fall now. You know, this is the time where the channels, the girlies are posting their fall book recommendations lists. Initially, I was not going to do that. I didn't have any plans to do that, but over on my second channel, I recently posted my autumn agenda, which includes all of the ways that I intend to really make the most out of fall and really set the mood for the season. And there is a segment of that video where I talk about fall book recs, and I figured, why would I have that on my second channel and not include it on the channel where I mostly talk about books? So I figured I would just do a nice little copy and paste and literally just share that one particular section of that video. So that's what this is. Now, this list isn't anything special, spectacular, or that long. Honestly, it's books I've talked about a billion times. It's books other people have talked about a billion times. It's nothing really like niche or unique or underrated involved, but here are some of my favorite autumnal books. When I'm setting up my yearly TBR and reading plans, 9 times out of 10, my fall/spooky season reads are some of the first planned, and 10 times out of 10, the reads I'm most looking forward to. September is a transition month, and I like my books to ease into the spooky ooky. This year, I've got some romance that take place at this time of the year, both following witches who know their way around a kitchen. I'll be reading my first Bronte. I feel like this is the perfect time of year to curl up with some tea and be transported to Gothic Victorian England. And of course, I have to read at least one dark academia this September. October will get significantly darker with Haints in the Jim Crow South, Indigenous Vampire Hunters, and then November is my yearly Hunger Games reread. This will be the 16th time. 16th? 17. Okay, I have a few more book recs. If, like me, you want to read some classics this fall, might I recommend, at polar opposite ends of the spectrum, Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery. I finally read it a few months ago after growing up obsessed with the movie, and like the movie, it has the most perfect, comforting vibe. I mean, this story literally gave us the quote, "I'm so glad I live in a world where there are Octobers." And then obviously Dracula by Bram Stoker, especially when it's particularly cold and gloomy. Halloween Night Mayhaps. Autumn is dark academia season. Here are a few of my personal faves. If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio transports us to an elite arts college following a small group of Shakespearean actors and the events leading up to the murder of one of their own. Bunny by Mona Awad is one of the most unhinged, trippy things I've ever read. In it, we follow Samantha, who is an outsider scholarship student in her MFA program. Her classmates are these cliquey rich girls that refer to each other as Bunny. Samantha is drawn into their sinister, technicolor, ritualistic circle, and everything around and within her starts to spiral. I felt like I was spiraling right alongside her, to be honest. Piranesi by Susanna Clarke, which I think is perfect for Narnia fans like myself. And then there's the great love of my life, Immortal Dark by Tigis Garma. Dark academia, black vampires, secret arcane societies. It's bloody and violent and steamy, and book 2 comes out this fall. Injected into my veins. For my witches, I've always been drawn to witchy books set in an oppressive, puritanical setting, so we have Slewfoot by Brom. A witch is forced to befriend a possible demon in order to hold on to her land after her husband is killed and his disgusting brother tries everything he can to destroy her. Men. In The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson, Emmanuel is already a pariah in her family. She is biracial, and her mother, having a relationship with an outsider, has cast her family into disgrace. Emmanuel is lured into the Forbidden Woods, where the spirits of the witches that were once cast out by the community's first prophet still lurk, and they gift her the journals of her dead mother, who once sought sanctuary in the woods. She starts learning truths not only about her mother, but also the darkness that lurks within their community. Necrology by Meg Ripley is set in a fantastical aftermath of the Salem witch trials, where women have sworn off their magic in exchange for safety from, well, men. 200 years later, the headmistress of an orphanage sprouts antlers and is falsely accused of murder. This follows one of her charges, who is being groomed as the star witness of the trial. Switching gears just a little bit, the Book of Gothel by Mary McMean, which is, as the title implies, a Rapunzel Mother Gothel retelling. I also feel like The Diviners by Lova Bray could go here. I don't know, it feels like a fall book. A main character with psychic abilities, fleeing home to live with her occult-obsessed uncle, who literally runs an occult and like superstition folklore museum. A mystery surrounding a supernatural serial killer. Yeah, 100% fall. Okay, a little romance for the girlies. Business Casual by B.K. Borison. A friends to lovers, small town romance with black cat golden retriever vibes. And even though it's technically the summer book of the Lovelight series, In the Weeds, which is my personal favorite of the quartet. All of these books are set on a Christmas tree farm that suddenly makes me want to move to Maryland. Speaking of books that take place in states I don't actually want to live in, but suddenly have a desire to maybe. Wishful Thinking by Celestine Martin, which follows a witch from a very powerful and known magical family and a merman in a magical seaside town on the Jersey Shore. I was at the shore a few months ago, and I don't know if it's cloaked like Storybrooke or you have to have magical blood to enter, but Frida Grove was nowhere to be found. Both rude and disrespectful. If you want something a bit spicier, Mating the Huntress by My Queen Talia Hibbert. A shifter romance featuring a virgin werewolf and a werewolf huntress fated to be his mate. I read it every Halloween season. November is Native American Heritage Month, so some of my favorite books by Indigenous authors that you should be reading all year round are Never Whistle at Night, which is an Indigenous horror short story anthology. The Marrow Thieves by Cherie Demeline, which is a YA dystopian novel set in a near future where people have lost the ability to dream except for Indigenous people, and they are being hunted for their marrow, which holds the cure. Johnny Appleseed by Joshua Whitehead, which follows a two-spirit indigiqueer main character who turns to sex work to survive, and it's the week leading up to his return to the reservation. We have Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley. It's a YA mystery thriller following Donis, who is pulled into an FBI investigation following a tragedy that strikes her community. Firekeeper's Daughter is my favorite of this little list. That book rocked me a bit to my core. And then we have Alatswe by Darcy Little Badger, which follows a young girl who can raise the ghosts of dead animals and is going to use that skill to find out what happened to her recently murdered cousin. Okay, now for some dark and creepy or vampy books. House of Hunger, which is another by Alexis Henderson, is a sapphic gothic vampire story following a young woman who leaves her life of poverty to become a blood maiden, which is basically a human girl for the vampire countess to feed on. She is swept into a world of hedonism and debauchery, which quickly becomes dangerous for her and all the other blood maidens. In Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moran Daniel Garcia. Our main character rushes to this dreary, isolated estate on a Mexican mountainside to save her cousin from mysterious doom. She arrives to find that her cousin's new family thinks she is mad, and they are keeping her pretty unreachable, and family secrets are revealed as the patriarch of the family becomes more and more obsessed with Noemi, our main character. This book gave me the heebie-jeebies. It's claustrophobic and infuriating, and it's nasty. It's the epitome of humans being more horrific than anything supernatural, and it's one of the few books that have gotten a visceral physical reaction out of me. A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson is a Dracula retelling of sorts, told through the point of view of Dracula's first bride. It's a tale of obsession and seduction and breaking abusive bonds. The prose is so lyrical and beautiful. I read this before finishing Dracula, and I don't know if I would have cared about the source material as much if I hadn't had this story. Last but not least, When the Reckoning Comes by Latanya McQueen. I didn't love this as much as I hoped to, but I think if I reread it, I might have a better experience. But I still think it falls under this category. It follows a Black woman returning to her segregated town for a plantation wedding. And what happens when a blood-soaked past refuses to be erased. Okay, that was a lot, but I wouldn't be me if I didn't get sidetracked by books. Make sure you're subscribed to my main channel where I talk mostly, almost exclusively about books. Let's move on to TV and movies. Right. So before I go, I did want to just include one other book that I was going back and forth about with that original list, because I just couldn't remember. It's been a minute since I read it, so I couldn't fully remember if I was correctly remembering the fall vibes, and that's Thistlefoot by Jenna Rose Nethercott, which I loved so much. The book is a Baba Yaga retelling of sorts. It follows two estranged siblings who are kind of forced back together when they inherit a sentient house on chicken legs. It's kind of been like passed down and arrived from their ancestral home, Russia. There's a traveling puppet show involved. They're being stalked by this, what's he called, the Long Shadow Man or something, which is just like dark, evil, pervading, I don't know if that's the word. It's very early in the morning. Entity that is trying to get the house. And at its core, it's a story of generational trauma. It discusses their family's history with the pogroms in Russia. Anyway, loved that book. I just wanted to include that here. Right. I don't know. It's very early in the morning, so thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like me, feel free to subscribe. All my places are down below so you can follow me, and I'll follow you back, and I'll see you very soon.